2 hours after the interview, he's emailing me saying, under no circumstances are you to release this episode.
This week on That Car Show, it's our pal Maurice Merrick. Maurice is the creator and host of Horsepower Heritage, the highly regarded podcast for the discerning automotive enthusiasts among us. In the automotive world that Dan, Lindsay, and I inhabit, Maurice is kind of like a Visa card, everywhere you want to be. He's also a fantastic storyteller, a master of the craft, and a good friend. This is also the first episode of Season 2 of That Car Show, and we genuinely appreciate you joining us each week. Do us a favor and hit subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and to tell your enthusiast friends 2026 is going to be amazing, and we want them along for the ride too. It's Horsepower Heritages, Maurice Merrick, and it's a fun one. It's That Car Show. Hey, it's That Car Show, and it's always a good time when our pal Maurice Merrick joins us. Though I think, Maurice, that this is your first time on That Car Show.
That's true.
I do seem to recall a couple of podcast ghosts in the attic with the steering committee, rest in peace, in the road show. But I call Maurice the professor, and I swear I'm going to keep calling him that until everyone else does as well. Listen to any of his Horsepower Heritage episodes and you'll understand why, because Maurice comes prepared. He does his homework. He knows his shit. And even if he didn't, you wouldn't know it anyway, because he's got the voice of a man who sounds like he does. We always have a hell of a lot of fun together each year out at Car Week in Carmel. In any case, welcome to That Car Show, Maurice. We're glad to have you here.
Such kind words, Ryan. Thank you. This is going to be fun. I've been looking forward to it. And yeah, we've been around the horn a few times in the podcast world. You've been on my show. I've been on your several shows. And so, yeah, this is going to be fun.
Well, I think we finally have the recipe that works with Lindsay, Dan, and now Michael on board too. So, yeah, but
third time's the charm.
You know, I think you have the recipe too. You're just yourself, right? And that makes it easy sometimes. No scheduling conflicts. No,
I have no one else to blame.
That's the key.
There's that too. But well, what's new, man? Last time we saw you was in Carmel. Podcast has been killing it. You've had some great, fantastic guests. But yeah, it's you've been doing the show for how long now?
A little over 5 years. I hit the 5-year mark in July.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
That's an achievement.
It's not a sprint, right?
No.
It's not a sprint. When I started doing this, you guys, the rule of thumb that I got from some veteran podcaster was 100 episodes and 3 years. That bar is actually much higher than that.
Yeah.
It's more like 150, 200 episodes.
Yeah.
We're at a disadvantage in podcasting because we can't go viral, right? Like, it's not a social media app. There's no algorithm behind it. Your audience, but that's also a good thing because your audience grows organically and you're more likely to retain that audience. So
That's true.
And by the way, thank you for you've given me several shout outs on the show in the last, year or so. And I really appreciate it. It's always nice to hear.
We're just testing you to see if you're actually listening, Maurice. That's all that is, right?
And good news, you passed.
Yeah.
Well done.
So 5 years. I mean, it's amazing how the landscape has changed. When we first started doing the steering committee, I think that was probably 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now. There was a lot less competition for starters, right? Do you remember you couldn't go in and buy like a turnkey podcast sort of setup? You had to cobble something together from Guitar Center. Like, it was a very different thing. And now everyone's got one, right? We thought everyone had one back then, but now everyone really, really does have one. But who stands out for you, in your 5 years? Because you've had some pretty impressive guests. Like, who really, who are your top three? Like, who are your go-tos?
Boy, there are so many great ones. I love talking to authors. And I've had a number of authors, even some New York Times best-selling authors on the show. Just off the top of my head, Douglas Brunt, who wrote a book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote The Mysterious Case of Rudolf Diesel.
Yeah.
All about the man who created the diesel engine. And Doug's fantastic. He has a new book coming out soon, and we're gonna have him back on the show. Very excited about that. Of course, Emerson Fittipaldi stands out.
Yeah.
That was a live interview at the Quail. They hired me to conduct the fireside chat that year, so it was in front of 6,000 people at the Quail and on the big screens, and
Right.
I'm on the stage with Emo. I mean, that was
I want to
pretty
come back
awesome.
to that, but yeah,
Okay.
Was that,
All right.
that was a great
was that
interview.
2023?
Yeah, that sounds right.
That was
sounds
when
right.
you did, because you did a couple of those, didn't you? The
Well,
chat, and you emceed the event?
I've done some stand-ups to camera at the Quail. They've hired me to do some color commentary, strolling around on camera, talking about different cars. I
Sure.
love doing live events. It's something that I get hired to do from time to time, doing roundtable discussions or presentations in front of an audience, interviews, and it's a rush. I love it. I love the immediacy of the audience response, so.
Right. You actually get feedback as opposed to podcasts where it goes out and you hope people laugh where you want them to laugh or get what that you
Right.
want them to get, but you don't know when you think about doing it in front of a live
Exactly
audience.
right.
You know right away.
Right. There's other guys like Colin Comer who,
Oh,
Lindsay,
yeah.
I know Colin, big
Yeah.
Shelby guy, fantastic. He's got, I don't know how many books Colin has written. I'm
I
sure
don't
if you
know.
stacked them together, you could easily stop a 50 caliber bullet. But
Right.
there are just so many. And after over 150, gosh, I'm on actually today, episode 161 dropped.
Oh, wow.
So
now
yeah,
now you can just coast, right? Is what that podcast veteran was getting at, right? You're good now.
You're off the
never.
hook.
Never. It's a hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
It really
But a good one.
really
That's
is.
so funny. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever heard that third interview, but I know that I've heard the first two, the Emerson Fittipaldi episode, and then also is it Dennis?
Doug Brunt. Yeah.
Douglas, I'm sorry. Yeah. Those two really stand out for me, and those were exceptional. It's we've got the guys, the new book Ride, the silver screen cars, the Hollywood cars coming on next week. So any tips for having an author or two on? 'Cause
I mean, you just have to
seem know how to
read.
do it.
You have to
There you
read
go.
cover to cover. I've there are times when I read a book twice before I interview the author, and I take a lot of notes, and I do a lot of highlighting in all those books. You'll be interested to know that this week's episode is with an author named Peter Grimsdale, who's been on the show before, another novelist, but he's on his third foray into nonfiction about automotive topics. I had him on a couple of years ago to talk about his book, Racing in the Dark, how the Bentley boys conquered Le Mans.
Right. That's right.
And Peter returns to Horsepower Heritage this week to talk about his new book, Super Veloce, how the Italian car industry conquered the world. And it is a sweeping portrayal of everyone from Enzo Ferrari to Ferruccio Lamborghini, everyone in between. It's a terrific book. So that's the latest episode. And by the way, you had Robert Nagel on the show recently.
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
Whom
Isn't
I've
he
interviewed. He's terrific. Great guy.
Yeah.
Your episode with him was one that I listened to prep for him being on our show. So thank you for the help.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you guys, you got a totally different interview than I did with him. And of course, I talked about primarily his work on the Ferrari biopic and a little bit of Ford v Ferrari. But you guys just did a completely different interview, and I really enjoyed it. So
That's high praise. Thank you so much.
100%.
And that's the tricky part. Ryan and I had talked about that because he has been on a couple shows.
Yeah.
And that was in the back of my mind. I wanted to be prepared, obviously, but when I was listening, I was going, okay, we don't want to just repeat what he's already done, both for the sake of your podcast and our show and the audiences. So that's very kind of you. I'm glad that it worked.
it's always the challenge, right? Because especially with guys who have a lot of exposure, Bruce Meyer comes to mind.
Sure.
He's done a ton of media. He's done your show. He's done my show. Yeah.
But you're hard to follow, because I feel like so often your interviews are like the definitive car podcast interviews with some of these folks, and every once in a while we'll get one in there, but you set the bar high, but it was fun, getting a completely different thing out of him. And he was wonderful and a hell of a guy. So many great stories. An innovator with the tool,
the
camera
biscuit
thing.
rig.
The biscuit rig. I couldn't think of which horse that was.
Yeah.
Just a hell of a neat guy. And but how do you meet these people? How do you meet your guests? Are you just connected to everyone anymore, or and how do you know when it's the right guest for Horsepower Heritage?
Yeah, partially it's a network that was already there. Partially it's the power of social media. It might be a press release that I get or a story I see in the news. For example, with Douglas Brunt, I saw that the diesel book was being released, and I jumped right on it. And I guess the secret is you just ask. I mean, what's the worst they can say, right? So
Yeah.
We've said this before.
Yeah. If you don't ask, you know the answer.
That's and sometimes you don't get an answer. And it's one of those things, like at age 50, if I knew at age 15 what I knew now, I think at the top of that list would be just ask, right? Just ask. Otherwise you only get what comes to you. Right. And
it's true.
You're a good example of that, of course. I think we've all been there. We've probably all had a guest or two where we just didn't run that episode. Maybe we've said, we had technical difficulties or something. You have a couple of those in the archives that never made it to air, or we don't have to mention names, but.
Well, I've got to tell you about one that was stillborn. So a guy contacted me on LinkedIn, and he purported to represent, how do I put this? A car museum. And it was a museum that didn't really exist. It was sort of a grand plan. And I don't even know why I agreed to it at the time. But when the time to record came and he logged on, it was like the guy had just gotten out of a mental asylum. I mean, he was disheveled. It was as if he just rolled out of bed. He wasn't prepared. He's running around an office with his phone and doesn't have a microphone, doesn't have a place to sit. The room is full of echoes. Like everything that we try to prep our guests to do, he didn't do any of it.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Let's do this another time. And that's the last I've heard of the guy. So there are those. I can't remember an episode that I just kind of left in the can.
Yeah.
So did you know ahead of time that the museum was still in the concept stage, or was that a surprise? Was that yet another surprise at the time of recording?
I knew that, but there were some bona fides, and sometimes it's hard to kind of vet these people.
Yeah.
And it's seldom that you can't vet them, but in this case, it obviously didn't work out. And there's another guest, by the way, that I had who I interviewed in person, and 2 hours after the interview, he's emailing me saying, under no circumstances are you to release this episode.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, it was great stuff that we got.
Wow.
It was a fantastic interview, I thought. And it's very mysterious why the only thing I can pin it down to is he talked about a few very prominent people in the car world. And I think he thought that he had maybe said some things that they would be unhappy about.
That car show is brought to you by Sheffield Watches. Sheffield is the storied watchmaking brand that was revived a couple of years back by our good friend Jay Turkbus, and it's seen wild success in both the car and watch enthusiast communities. Sheffield offers a wide selection of watches, many inspired by the iconic designs of its 1960s dive models, most notably the one that Jay's parents gave him in 1970, which ignited his lifelong passion for watches. Sheffield watches are high quality, reasonably priced, and a great value. Sheffield has truly become the car guy and car gal's watch of choice. Order your Sheffield watch at sheffieldwatches.com. Give them a follow on the gram at Sheffield_allsport_watches and tell them That Car Show sent you. Okay.
And so he just decided, I don't want this out there. So I haven't released it, that's fine, whatever.
You're a man of your word.
You guys, I'm always about 3 episodes ahead of release. So I've got a few in the can at any given time. So not a problem. Not a problem.
And you got a good story out of it. Even if you didn't get an episode, you did get a story.
Yeah, that's incredible. You wonder what changed in that 2 hours or what have you. I've done. I've had a whiskey or two on a podcast, and I've woken up in a panic. At about 2 a.m, wondering what I said on someone else's show. I get it, but that's I don't know, maybe that'll go out to the Patreon folks in time, huh? That's
someday, sometime in the distant future, it might see the light of day. We'll see.
Okay, right on. You
have to wait for everybody included in the episode to pass away, and then it can go out.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, then it will be declassified.
Right. Yeah. That's
so
amazing.
I've had a couple people, who I said you were coming on the show. I find Maurice fascinating. Would love to know his story. The mustache, he's kind of a man of mystery. So what is the Maurice Merrick story? Where'd you grow up? Give us all the dirt. What did you drive when you were younger? How you got into this thing? What?
Boy, I'm glad I did my mustache maintenance today.
I mean, we are too. Please.
Thank you. Grew up in Arizona.
Well. Yeah. Oh, Arizona. I don't think I knew that.
Grew up in Arizona. Was a television producer for some time in LA. Have always been a car guy since I was about 8 years old. And I didn't come from a car family, but my Uncle Dave is the guy who really got me interested in cars. And, he had a number of interesting cars over the years. He's the guy who taught me how to identify old cars, because especially pre-war cars, they all kind of look alike, and Uncle Dave kind of taught me the difference between a 39 Plymouth and a 39 Ford.
Okay.
And
that's cool.
Went to car shows with him, just began to, learn a little bit more here and there. Through high school, I had BMW 2002s.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
fun.
I knew. And that's a cool, cool car to say was your first car. Yeah.
Really fun. Lots of fun. And after that, somewhere along the line, I got into series Land Rovers. And at the time, I remember that I was thinking, a car, a road car is fine, but you can really only stay on the road. Whereas a Land Rover, you can go anywhere, right? And that was part of the attraction. So have spent a lot of years, 30 years now in Land Rovers. But my automotive tastes develop just like everyone else's. And, there's an Alfa Romeo in the garage now. There's a 31 Ford Model A Roadster in the garage.
Nice.
BMW motorcycle, a 73 R75/5. And I'm not sure what's next in terms of car acquisitions, but it'll be something oddball. Just none of those really kind of fit together, right? It's kind of eclectic.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it reflects you and your interests. I mean, I think those are the best kinds of collections because it doesn't the theme doesn't have to be a traditional theme. It can be, this is what I love. And I think that's what makes it interesting too.
Yeah. And I like having cars for different occasions.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Speaking of which, Ryan, Lindsay, what would your perfect 2-car solution be? This is the big question, right?
It really is. Yeah. We just talked about this because I was telling the guys, probably in the last few months, I've noticed that I'm moving through the world wearing 2-car solution glasses. Like, I'll see 2 cars together and it's like, oh, this is the funniest thing. Like the most recent one is the full-size Range Rover and a Mini Moke was the funniest one I've seen recently. One. I was like, that covers a lot of bases.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. Are we talking cost no object, or do we have any limitations here? Modern, vintage?
I mean, I would just say realistic within your budget, right? Because
that cuts out. That cuts out what I had in mind, Maurice. But
a little more challenging that way, though.
No, I know,
true.
yeah. I mean, I could probably argue that what I have, I only own two cars, and I've got a Polestar and I've got a GT4, and that covers all the bases. The Polestar has
Right.
440 horsepower, whatever. It's all-wheel drive. It's flies under the radar, doesn't look like anything, right? But I like it. It's like an old 124 Mercedes or something, or an old 240,
Sure.
Volvo. It's kind of got that vibe about it. And then I've got the GT4, but I think, if I was bringing a little more money into the house, I would have a GT3 Touring, a 9N 1.2, and some sort of G-Wagon. I think that would be my ideal solution. That's kind of where my head is. Vintage might be something completely different, right? But what would yours be, Maurice? Because I have an idea, and one of them would probably be a Land Rover, but you tell us.
Well, I've spent a lot of years behind the wheel of a Land Rover, and it's kind of I've already trod down that path, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
probably a 70 911.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why is
Love-
70?
Long wheelbase.
Yeah.
I think it's a sweet spot,
Okay.
That would be one. That would be my vintage, and they're super reliable, of course.
Sure.
I really like your G-Wagon idea. That would be a fantastic second car.
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe an
know.
old
I don't know
one,
if that's absolutely, and I don't know if that's necessarily a perfect two-car solution, but those are two cars I have yet to own. I have friends who've had G-Wagons, vintage G-Wagons. I've been a passenger in them. They're terrific.
They're cool.
Dead reliable. Great Mercedes engineering. Even though they're technically, Mercedes acquired that from Steyr Puch, right? But I think that's a great two-car solution. I do love Italian cars, though. I have to say, my Alpha is just so much fun.
And that's new for you, right? That's new as of this year, a new acquisition?
Yeah, it is. And I just love it. It's a 60 Giulietta Spider. It's what Alfisti call an abnormale,
Okay.
right? Because the Normale was the just 1300 cc single carb, right? The Veloce was the twin carb performance model. But the Abnormale is an Alpha that's had an engine swap or that's been breathed on, So mine has a 1750 twin cam and a 5-speed.
Nice.
The previous owner set it up for touring, and it's perfect for that. And that's one of the reasons I wanted it. And it's been terrific, You kind of wear the car. It's tiny. The steering's really light, but great handling. Just the chassis has great manners, and it loves to rev. Alphas are known for that, and it's a lot of fun.
That's pretty
So it's
fun.
set up for touring. So are you going to take it touring and do some rallies in this thing?
That's the plan. Long term, Ryan, is I want to do some vintage touring in that car. And I've done vintage touring before. But it's a great way to get the most, I think, out of the car. I mean, cars and coffee is fun, right? Or just kind of cruising on your own for the morning is fun. But when you get mixed in with other vintage cars, on a multi-day excursion, it's just a different experience.
That's
We're
true.
going to get you on the Grand in time, right? And Lindsay, too. We just had Nate Lander from the Classic Center, Mercedes-Benz Classic Center, who I think you know. And, Michael Lasasso was on with us. And I think Michael's been on, 5 Grands. I've been on 3 or 4. And we asked Nate, who I think is younger than both of us, how many Grands he had been on. And he said, well, it's 21 or 22, But, we need to get you on and Lindsay on. And, it's just such a great concept, right? I mean, not just the Grand. The Grand is wonderful, but, any number of these rallies, these tours, it's just such an opportunity to check out and really, get to know your car. And it's just, they're wonderful. And speaking of that, let's talk Slow Baja, because that looked like one hell of a big boy adventure. What is Slow Baja? I want to do it, but I just know I want to do it. It looks amazing.
But we need to know more.
What is this? It's off-road. It's obviously not competitive with a name like Slow Baja. I saw you eating tacos, camping out on the beach. What is this?
All right, well, let me set it up for you. So, Slow Baja is the brainchild of my pal Michael Emery. Michael went to college in San Diego
Okay.
and spent a whole lot of time in Baja during college, and Baja's never really left Michael.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Michael may leave Baja once in a while, but it doesn't leave him.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy. He was a professional photographer for many years. He was the official photographer for the governor of California for a
Oh my
time.
God.
Michael was one of the original employees at Bring a Trailer way back when.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes. And but in recent years, Michael started a podcast called Slow Baja to kind of share his enthusiasm with the wider world. So he does interviews with people from Baja, people who do interesting things in Baja. He talks about stuff that goes on in Baja, everything from wildlife conservation to people who are, running little guest ranches or wineries. So it's a travelogue, but it's also a car podcast from time to time because, of course, he talks about Baja racing and things of that nature. So Michael came on my show, I want to say about 5 years ago now. I think he came on in year one, and we've been friends ever since. So he runs these Slow Baja expeditions, I think twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring, or maybe once in the fall and once in the winter. But in any event, it's a vintage tour for the most part. He's pretty lenient on having a little bit newer vehicles join us from time to time. Anyway, this was my second trip down there with him and the group, and I mean, what an amazing bunch of people. His trips attract a certain kind of person, a person who's self-reliant, well-adjusted, gets along with others, plays well, and is just kind of up for whatever and can roll with the punches. So it's a great group.
So,
That
I mean,
sounds
what is
awesome.
it like? How long does it go? What did you drive? What does one expect to encounter along the way? That Car Show is proud to partner with Drake Motor Cars. Drake Motor Cars is Denver's premier destination for exactly the kinds of vehicles that we like here at That Car Show. Think Velocity Broncos, Audi RS6s, Acura NSXs, and air-cooled Porsches. You can see their complete and constantly changing inventory at DrakeMotorCars.com and check out their amazing online reviews from all across the country. But our friends at Drake need your specialty car too. A sign of a good business is when there are more customers than inventory. So reach out to Drake too if you've got a great enthusiast car that just doesn't get driven like it used to. Find out more at DrakeMotorCars.com and let them know you heard about them on That Car Show.
Well, for people who may not be familiar with Baja California, so, a little bit of history. The Spanish called the state of California Alta California, right? The upper California. Baja California is lower California. And then the farthermost southern state in Baja is Baja Sur. So that's kind of the historical background. But since Baja is this massive peninsula, by definition, it's separated from the mainland. It's isolated. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get the attention that mainland Mexico gets. In other words, like, infrastructure and economic development, those things are all lacking in Baja. It's a situation where Baja is very dependent on tourism and primarily Americans, and there are a lot of expatriates who live there, a lot of retirees from Canada and the US. I mean, you'll see British Columbia license plates driving through the middle of nowhere.
That's so funny.
So the trip is 6 days. It's on and off road. We're on the highways to get to the day's destination.
Okay.
But there's a lot of off-roading, a lot of beach runs.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. And, we go up in the mountains. We visit, one of the first night we stay at a guest ranch that is absolutely wonderful. It's in this little valley. The owner, Raul, is an amazing host. He's been there 29 years, and it's kind of a dude ranch. You know, there's horseback riding and all sorts of other activities for his main guests, but you know, he hosts this huge group of 4x4s, and we all camp out, and the food is tremendous. You know, goat cooked over an open fire. It's fantastic. So
I
authentic.
mean, it's hard to go wrong over an open fire, right?
Absolutely.
Huh.
And, you know, Michael's got everything planned down to the last detail. He has so many connections in Baja, and you know, every day he's got a group of locals that are looking after us in some way. All of the meals are planned, and you know, you don't have to crack your cooler if you don't want to.
Yeah.
So it's really well planned and executed, and no 2 days are alike. You know, the scenery changes. We go from again, like sea level up to snow elevation in the mountains.
Really?
Which
Yeah,
a lot of people don't think about
No,
having, like Baja even having that.
right.
I wouldn't know that.
Right. Rancho La Concepcion is the place I'm referring to, and it's up in the mountains, and there's 100-year-old apple orchard there.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
So there's all these little magical things you just don't expect in this desert environment, and like I said, in a place that has, you know, lacking infrastructure and not a whole lot of development, especially inland, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it's a wonderful trip, and like I said, I can't say enough about the people that go.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
So I was listening to your episode in preparation for having you on, the episode about Slow Baja, and I noticed you talked to Ilana Scher, was one of the people who was on this year's trip, and she's become a good friend, and we run into each other at Car Week, if not throughout the year. But it sounded, I think this was her first year going. Is that correct?
Ilana's been to Baja many times. I think this might have been her first Slow Baja trip.
Yeah.
And of course, she was writing an article for Car and Driver, and she brought along Ineos Grenadier Quartermaster,
Nice.
which I
right.
got an opportunity to drive. Great vehicle.
Yeah.
And the other special occasion this particular trip was that it was the 50th anniversary of Sal Fish's ownership of the Baja races, right? So,
Okay.
so the Baja 1000 kind of, the first few years were a little bit creaky. The Mexican government at one point wanted to take control of it, and then they just couldn't manage it. And Sal ended up buying basically the concession for it and ran it for 50 years. The guy's a Baja legend. He's, I think, 83 years old, and he was along with us on the trip.
Oh, amazing.
As well as Kurt Leduc, who's a veteran Baja racer.
Well, and you spoke with Sal on the episode, correct?
Yes. And
I
so,
loved his portion. It was so, I mean, it was just so charming and informative. And I was like, I just want to hang out with this guy and hear all his stories.
well, you know, I recorded that episode a little bit each day along the way.
Okay.
And surprisingly, or maybe not, it was tough because everybody's so busy the whole time. I mean, if we're not driving, we're preparing camp, we're eating, we're socializing. So it was kind of tough to catch people at the right moment. But I managed to do that. And the portion of the show, the portion of the episode that was with Sal and Kurt and Michael was recorded on the beach on the Sea of Cortez at a restaurant at our campsite. So we were out on the patio having some tequila, and I just, you know, pressed record and let it rip, and it was so much fun.
Yeah,
Well,
those
you
are
found
best
the magic
ones.
moment.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I mean, those guys never run out of stories about their experiences down there. You know, they've between Kurt and Sal, I think they have 100 years of Baja tales, you know, to choose from. So
Yeah. You're like, all right, we could do a whole podcast just with you guys.
absolutely. No problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all sort of crave that kind of adventure, right? We just get so little of that in our lives anymore. Like, there's probably no cell service for starters, right?
Well, that's a good thing about Baja. I mean, a lot of people that are listening to this right now will have been there. There's probably a lot of Baja veterans, more than you might imagine. And it's not like we're blazing new trails. Baja is a known quantity, but the experience is still really pure, I think. And the lack of cell service is great because you get to tune out. It's almost, for an American, it's like living in 1990, right? You just get to disconnect and enjoy what's going on around you.
Yeah. What's that like? We have to remind ourselves. We were marveling the other day about, pre-cell phone life and how our parents would just drop us off at the mall to go see a movie, and then you have to go find the payphone to call them to bring you home. But it worked.
It absolutely did.
I remember as a kid looking forward to picking my dad up from the airport, right? Because I could go to those phone banks and go to each little coin, whatever return thing, and see if there was a quarter, and inevitably I'd find one or two, and feel like a king.
Lucky.
But it's amazing how much things have changed.
It is.
There's little, those little pleasures, our kids will not know.
Yeah, we have to figure out a way to recreate that somehow or build that in.
I remember going to the arcade and, with maybe $10 and just dropping quarter after quarter into Galaga or Spy Hunter or whatever, And I'm kind of dating myself, but ultimately, yes, we were playing video games, but it was a really social activity. Your friends would be around you watching you, try to get the high score, and it was fun. And when we were out of quarters, we would leave the arcade and kick around and, get into all kinds of trouble. So,
as you should at that age, right?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a couple of them, but what's in your garage these days? You've still got the Land Rovers, right?
I have a 1960 109 station wagon. That's a long wheelbase, 5-door. I've had that since 2008, and it's done thousands of miles off road. And, I would throw the whole family in that thing and think nothing of driving 500 miles in a day to get to where we were going to off-road and camp. I also have a 1968 short wheelbase Series 2A, which is really it's literally a basket case, guys. It's in boxes, and the chassis is leaning up against the wall in the backyard. Well, kind of out of sight, at least.
Sure.
It's a little bit like Sanford and Son in my side yard. Okay, there's a bunch of Land Rover parts, and then I have a 53 Series 1. So that's pretty early production. Land Rover started in 48.
Wow.
So
okay.
And that is it's a project that is going in fits and starts, but I'm determined to finish it in the next 12 to 18 months to 24 months to 36 months.
Yeah.
That's a reasonable timeline. Anybody with project cars knows that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and you and I had the very unique experience during Car Week this last year of getting to ride with the Land Rover team in the Defender. They had 5 or 6 Defenders in the Tour de Pebble.
Yes.
And so up Highway 1 and back down, obviously. And that was just magical.
It was. And we were in a Camel Trophy Defender.
Right.
110.
I think it was the last one that had done
that's cool.
Like the last Camel Trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should probably correct myself and say a Camel Trophy 110, because I don't think it was technically called the Defender at that point. And some Land Rover anorak out there is screaming that I made that mistake. So I will correct myself.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have said Defender 110 with the Camel Trophy, but.
And the driver was Scott from the founder of Overland Journal. Great guy.
Scott Brady.
Yeah.
He was amazing. And Jeff Ahuden. who does
Yes.
the PR for Land Rover in North America. He was with us too. So
Yeah.
we had a pretty fun crew.
We had a great crew. Yeah. And we didn't
And
break down.
we
Yeah.
didn't, none of us broke down, which is an amazing testament to the defenders. And yeah, it was just the weather could not have been better. It was unbelievably spectacular and definitely, pinch me moments just getting to be in those cars on that road. Well, and with the rest of the cars that did the tour, I think we all kept commenting, you don't often get to see, especially some of the pre-war stuff. And I think that tulip wood car that won, I think that was on the tour. You know, getting to see one of those cars driving is amazing, but getting to see all of those together on the road and to be part of it was just unreal. And of course, Land Rover's the only way to go.
Well, we got a whole lot of cheers along the way,
Yeah. Oh my
gosh.
especially the kids loved that thing,
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and the crowd along the way is a great aspect of the tour because the natural beauty is of course wonderful.
Sure.
And there are a lot of, people with classic cars or hobby cars parked along the way.
Right.
But then when you get sort of to the end of the tour, the turnaround point,
Yeah.
and there's hundreds of people, and suddenly you're kind of in a parade, right? Because
You are the parade. Yeah.
yeah. So that was really fun.
I was trying to think of how to describe it to somebody because you're up in the mountains a bit in terms of the scenery, and you've gone on a windy road, obviously along the coast. But for anybody that's been to Good Vibes, it was like a big, big, big Good Vibes day, times 4 when you get to the end, just the crowd and the energy and the enthusiasm. And I think a parade is a great way to describe it because people cheer nonstop as you drive through. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
How many years
Loved
have
it.
you gone to Car Week, Maurice?
Since I want to say 2018,
Okay. So not that long.
not that long.
Yeah.
I put it off for many years. It was, and I don't know what it was, Ryan, that made me put it off. It's just one of those things in life. You're busy with family and
Sure.
kids and kids sports and car projects of your own and whatever have you. And it was kind of one of those things where I thought, well, I'll get a group of friends together and go at some point.
Yeah.
And now I can't stay away.
Yeah.
No.
That's the problem.
It gets under your skin.
Yeah. We heard all this talk this year about, it's jump the shark, it's the end of Car Week because we know it. And I had a great time. This was only my second year, but I don't know what I was missing. It seemed pretty wonderful to me. Maybe for a local in Carmel, it gets a little, tedious after a day or two, and imagine it does. But yeah, I can't imagine not going moving forward, right? It's such a touchstone or whatever for those of us who do what we do, and I'd feel out of the loop if I missed it. It's just. But have you noticed any changes in the 7 years or whatever that you've gone?
I mean, it's definitely more crowded.
Yeah.
Prices have gone up, particularly for accommodations.
Yeah.
And it's become more and more commercialized every year for sure.
Yeah.
I think social media has had a greater impact than any other single factor
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it attracts people who just want to, put stuff on their TikTok or Instagram or what have you. And they're less about the experiences of Car Week and more about capturing content for their platforms.
Sure.
So that's a big change. Supercars have kind of taken over the street scene. I think that's fair to say. And just, traffic in general it has been impacted a lot. I would say the core events are still kind of true to what their intent has always been. If you go to Laguna Seca and you want to see the historic racing, I mean, you could just do that.
Yeah.
Do nothing else.
Yeah,
And have a fantastic week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'll never forget the first year I went. So 24 rather. I show up to Laguna. This was the year that some of us ended up doing some commentary, which was amazing, but also terrifying in the moment. But I'm walking in, I guess, to the pits, and I see you pop out of a car. You are the riding mechanic to remind me of the car. It was like a 30s.
That's my pal.
That?
That's my pal Bobby Green, Old Crow
Right.
Speed Shop.
Yes.
And Bobby is a huge collector and historian and preservationist, and that's his 1920 Duesenberg racer.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But to see Maurice pop out of that, like it was like, no big thing,
You're like, this makes, but that makes perfect sense. I mean, where else? Of course he's popping out of one of those. And to throw back to our Trent Abbott episode, Bobby Green is a charter member of the PT Cruiser Spotters Anonymous Club. So
boom.
I love the callback.
I love that. Didn't even put two and two together, but
I can't say enough about Bobby. I mean, he's a guy you need to have on the show.
Yeah. Would love to.
And it's going to be historic.
Yeah.
But you will have no end of fun with Bobby. In fact, I was just at his place this morning.
Yeah.
He sold me a set of 35 Ford wire wheels for
Amazing.
my Model A and
For something.
Yeah.
For my Model A Roadster. Yeah. And in fact, I spent half the afternoon, sanding them, getting them ready for paint, and they're going to go on the car this week. But Bobby's definitely would be a good get for you, and I can make that happen.
That would be
well,
amazing.
it pays to know the right people, huh?
Yeah.
I remember him because I used to watch American Pickers, and if I recall, he was a regular on American Pickers, and I was again thought this is a pretty cool dude.
Yeah,
he
and Mike are tight. They're good friends, and I've spent a little bit of time with Mike, and he's a wonderful guy. He is exactly who you see on television.
That's
by
great.
The way.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, I feel a little bad because he's from Iowa, and I just wrote an article for Autoblog where I really dumped on Iowa, and I kind of feel bad. I don't know, Lindsay, did you read that? Well, in fact, I dumped on the Iowa drivers, and that was
okay.
But look,
I was going to say I remember an Iowa mention, but it was So go on. For those that haven't had a chance to read it.
Yeah, I need a redemption or something, amongst my Iowa people. But
Ryan, what is it about Iowa drivers?
Well, I'll tell you. There was a scenario in the article, but they like to sit in the passing lane, usually in a Chrysler minivan of some sort. And then they get upset when, after waiting patiently, you go to pass them in the right. And it's I think I called it a combination of sort of indignant self-righteousness and just sort of lack of situational awareness, right? And it's just
which is not a fantastic intersection to be at.
No, and every time we drive from Colorado to Minnesota or Wisconsin or what have you to visit family, we inevitably have to go through Iowa. And of course, after driving through Nebraska, it's beautiful, but the people just are the worst drivers in the country. And I'll go to my grave,
asking them to let you by.
Yeah. So.
Probably combined with a Methodist resolve to stay the course. I am not
there you
moving.
Go. That's what it is. They're just yes. They're I like that.
But one thing I would like to say is I would like to change my answer for the 2-car solution.
Oh, okay.
I would like a modern Land Rover Defender. Here's my 2 cars that I think would be very fun. It would cover a lot of ground, literally and figuratively, because as we've established, the Defender does so well on and off the road. So I'm taking the budget consideration out of it, and I would like a Land Rover Defender Octa and a 2018 Ford GT350R Mustang.
Wow. Okay.
There you go.
Not a dark horse.
No.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Well, I haven't driven one yet, which maybe if I drove one, I might change my answer. But it did such a good job with the R, and you could take it on the track, but it's still really fun on the street. Yeah. And the Defender you could take off-road, and it's lovely to drive on the street as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like that covers a lot of bases.
No, those are good. That's a good 2-car solution. And by the way, I have to tell you, I rode with Robert Nagel in his Mustang.
Oh, in his Dark Horse?
Yeah. And you guys, I think touched on that a
We
little bit.
did.
We did.
And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
said it's like a one of one because of the options that he ordered
Yeah.
together.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Sounds like a really interesting car.
It's an awesome car. And I mean, to be in the passenger seat with Robert Nagel,
The man. Yeah.
right, in that car, like, some people you get a little bit nervous, right, as a passenger. Nah, not that guy.
Yeah.
That guy is nails. He's
Yeah,
so good
amazing.
behind the wheel. Yeah. And
And
he
so
definitely
fun.
put his foot in it, a few times.
Yeah,
It was fun.
yeah.
And I'm going to change my 2-car solution since you're
Okay.
doing it too. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Guys, I think my perfect 2-car solution would be like a 1970 Porsche 911. I love the long hood cars. I like the long wheelbase. Less of a fan of the impact bumper cars.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more refined, by 1970, and really reliable. And then the second car would probably be like a 69 bump side Ford Highboy, 4x4.
Okay.
There you
yeah.
go.
I mean, again, like simple,
Sure.
good Ford engineering. I love the look of the bump sides. They're just great trucks. And big mutter meats on it. That'd be
nice.
perfect.
I love it.
Maurice, is
Ryan,
there anything
would you like
new
to
that
revise
that?
it?
Yeah, no, I'm sticking with my
You're
GT3
happy?
Touring and my Geländewagen. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. Is there anything new that interests you, Maurice? Like anything that's new out there that you'd want in your garage? Because I definitely feel like you have a slant toward the the vintage stuff.
I do. I'm pretty blasé about new cars. I got to be
Yeah.
honest. There's some interesting stuff out there, but none of it is in my price range. I know that people are raving about that 3-cylinder turbo Corolla.
Anybody
Okay.
we know?
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, Mr. Lieberman.
Well, and Ryan.
That's right. Ryan
Well, I
has
thought I
sung
broke
its
the
praises.
thing, so I'm just glad that I
Yeah.
haven't had a call from Toyota
Yeah.
over the last couple of weeks. Following up with an invoice, but yeah.
Right. I was a BMW fan for so many years, and I think
Yeah.
they've completely lost the plot.
Oh, 100%.
So what was the last one that you loved? Like
Like-
latest model.
Like 2016. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you one of the
Oh.
big reasons why: analog instrumentation.
Yes.
I hate digital
I'm
instrumentation.
with you.
Get rid of it. We don't need it.
Yeah. I like the
So
new
that was a
M2,
lot more modern.
but-
That was a lot more modern than I thought you were going to choose, actually.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think happened, you guys. This whole push toward EVs and the supposed demise of the internal combustion engine, that was all political nonsense. It was a bunch of pressure groups pushing for it. And, I'm not, anti-environment, but I think it was hysteria, and it was also people trying to cash in.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of political elements out there who are trying to answer to a constituency that is just not being realistic about
Sure.
about how the world gets around, and it's
Sure.
with ICE engines, and it will be for the foreseeable future. And by the way, as long as I'm on my soapbox, Lindsay, you've been in California long enough to know, although you're no longer a California resident,
Well,
but sort of, right?
technically, yeah.
Yeah. But having grown up here, what
Yeah.
the smog was like at one time.
I remember. I was thinking about this. Yes, as a kid, we had the air quality warnings, and you couldn't see downtown LA, on and on, etc. Yes, please continue.
And I think we're all old enough to remember idling at a traffic light with our parents and smelling the exhaust, right? Because you had your windows down because most of us weren't running AC, right? Or
Well, and a lot of us were in the rear-facing third row of the station wagon where the
Yes.
exhaust came right in directly.
yes. Yes.
And now we know what's wrong with me. Anyway, go on.
Well, so if you think about those days and you think about how far we've come, and you can pull up to a traffic light and never smell a whiff of exhaust now.
Yeah.
And so the technology has progressed so far. Engines are very clean burning, very efficient now. They're incredibly reliable. I mean, think about we're going 15,000 miles between oil changes.
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, I don't do that, but My point
You would
is,
never.
right. My point is, we've come a long way. There's no way that we need to abandon that at this point. And I don't think one size fits all is a good formula for anything, let alone cars. So getting back to where we were, the EV push really messed up the marketplace and manufacturers are now having to scramble to go back to internal combustion. In fact, I can't remember who it was, but I think it's Jaguar. Jaguar had nothing on the table for internal combustion. They've fully committed to EV. They have no engines in the development pipeline, and they're stuck with EV. So what's going to happen there? I mean, I think the design chief for Jaguar Land Rover just got let go.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it has to. I can imagine it's partially because of a lot of the backlash, and they're just panicking at this point at JLR, thinking, "What are we going to do? Well, we got to hang this on somebody. It might as well be him."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The term sacrificial lamb was thrown around yesterday when the news came out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank God for Land Rover, right? Kind of keeping the boat afloat, and to go back to EVs, for the record, I have an EV because they were artificially subsidized and they were giving them away. And that is the reason that I own one, and I do think it's a wonderful sort of around town conveyance, but the environmental stuff, and I like the environment, but that never even factored into it for us. It was literally just the price and the performance, and we needed a car,
I do appreciate that both of you have felt the need to preface your statements with, I do enjoy the environment.
Yeah.
I support the environment. Let's be clear.
Poor Jaguar, though. Like, I'm trying to say it like you Jaguar or whatever. We need Dan here to say, thank God for Waymo, right? Because where would Jaguar be without Waymo at the moment? Those are the only times I ever see new Jaguars are when they're dressed up as Waymos or whatever. So
no kidding.
It's.
I considered the BMW i3 when it first came out. I mean, I'm not opposed to EVs. I do a lot of driving, and it made sense. Except the range was at the time 85 miles or something. It was
not much. Maybe
it was 185, but it was pretty abysmal, and I would have had range anxiety and problems. So, and there was no charging infrastructure.
Sure.
It's I would definitely consider an EV in the future. But I'm also a long-term owner. I keep my cars for 10 years and 200,000 miles, and I just maintain them and I enjoy them. And so I don't trade up very often. So I guess it hasn't really made economic sense for me to go full EV. I think Toyota's doing it right. Out of all of them, gas electric hybrid. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
well, that hydrogen model didn't go very far.
no, true.
No.
Yeah.
And
Why are they
BMW
still pushing the hydrogen thing? Because the only place I see them is in California for, obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Well, and there was I was aware of where there was a hydrogen station was it the Aria when that came out?
Yeah, the Aria and the Mirai, right, are the two.
The Mirai, that's the one I was thinking of. But yeah, there was, because I remember hearing about this. I'm like, that's great. Where do you get hydrogen? But there was one station that was open in Orange County that I was aware of. I'm like, it'd be an interesting experiment.
That's a California thing. Some manufacturers have decided to sort of anticipate where California is going to go. And we have a dearth of refineries here, as you know. It all has to be refined here in the state of California, which drives the price up. And so I think, car makers are just trying to figure out what's California going to do next, and we have to be ahead of the curve. So a couple have opted for the hydrogen experimentation. BMW was experimenting with hydrogen, I think, as early as the late 80s with right? They had a 7 Series hydrogen project, if I recall correctly. But I think if anything happens to change all of this, it will probably be some sort of synthetic hydrocarbon fuel.
And Porsche is really, really behind that. I know as well. That said, I just have to share / brag that I had this Genesis press car recently, so I didn't feel bad putting 85 octane in it. But that 85 octane, I paid $1.82 a gallon.
Wow.
$1. I haven't paid that since high school, guys. $1.82. $1.82.
Oh my gosh. Well, do you guys remember when gas prices really went crazy and the pumps would shut off at $50?
Yeah.
Before
Yes.
the stations accommodated.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember in high school paying $1.25 a gallon.
Okay.
And, when you're a high school kid, that's not, to fill up your tank, it's a little bit of an expenditure. At least it was for me, working a minimum wage job for $4.25 an hour. So
sure.
But,
yeah, that's a chunk of it for sure. And it adds up.
Yeah. What was that job, Maurice? I'm just curious. What were you doing in high school?
pumping gas.
Oh,
ironically enough.
So you could just sneak in a little freebie, at the end of the day, or
Never.
Okay.
Nope. I was on the full service island at the Chevron, and most of my money was made in tips. Believe it or not. I mean,
I was going to ask, if you got tips.
Got good tips. Got $5 here, $20 here. Occasionally somebody would give me a $50 bill or even a $100 bill in one case.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So, and then that guy would come in and not tip, for the next 5 fill-ups. But that's okay.
We're good, right?
Yeah.
We're
Right.
good. We're good.
It's like,
So
this counts for the next 6 weeks.
Right. Change the subject a little bit. We haven't talked about your YouTube channel, and I know that your YouTube channel is really taking off. I have some questions because all I hear from people, Matt Fair and all that, is how difficult YouTube has become. He said he had an episode that did 75,000 views, and he got a check, I think, for $300 or something. So, what's the state of YouTube and automotive YouTube, and and how are you making it work?
I try not to think too hard about it, Ryan.
That's the secret.
Yeah, I just read this week that the algorithm is now favoring recency.
Okay.
So newer videos are getting pushed harder. I could tell you what has done well on my channel, which is turning wrenches, those kind of videos.
Okay.
That does well. My interview with Robert Nagel did extremely well, but that was just based on my strategy, which was to release that the day before the Ferrari biopic opened. So I rode that wave.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be honest and say the podcast episodes, including the ones where I do a sit-down video interview version for YouTube, do not do nearly as well as my other videos. And I think that's a function of just not being big enough. Of course, guys like, the perennial example, right, is Joe Rogan. He can pull, millions and millions of views, or even, other guys who do interviews can do huge views with sit downs. I'm not there. That's okay. Like I said, I try not to think too hard about it. I just do what I like. If something hits, that's great. I'm making some money off of YouTube. It's certainly not going to, fill my garage with the cars that I would love to own, but that's okay. Slow and steady wins the race, or at least comes in second. I'll be happy with second.
Yeah.
It's still a good place to be, right?
Yeah.
In this context.
It's a ton of work, you guys. I'm putting out a podcast episode every 2 weeks. Originally, it was a weekly show, and I think one of the reasons I changed to a bi-weekly podcast release is it gives listeners time to listen to the episode, digest the episode, and then in another 2 weeks I'll see you again. And because we're all busy, right? And people might not necessarily have time to. I think what I'm getting at here is, if someone hasn't listened to your show for a few weeks and they see like, oh my gosh, there's like 3 or 4 episodes or what have you to catch up to, I think they're less inclined. I think they feel like that's sort of a barrier, and they may start to tune out. It's a psychological trick.
Sure.
I'm already behind. I can't, and I'll never catch up.
That kind of thing, which is weird, right? But it's, people are
There's
weird.
not going to be a test, and we're happy to have you here. Yeah.
But it is kind of like a perceived value thing, right? If we were putting on a show every day, it wouldn't seem too special, right? But if you're doing twice a month or whatever, Lindsay, maybe that's what we need to do. This one a week thing is kind of burning me out.
But you guys are doing a different animal.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
you're topical, and you've got an ensemble cast, so
Right.
it's different, and I think it really works for you. I think you've found the right formula, if there is a formula.
So have you.
And this is it. Yeah.
But so have you, and I do look at your episodes as sort of these like little jewel box things, right? Where they're well researched, they're well edited, and there's not a bad one in the bunch, right? They're just these highly polished little things that, it's pretty wonderful. Horsepower Heritage, you got a good thing, and
I appreciate that. And by the way, speaking of YouTube and speaking of Baja, I shot a ton of video on that trip, and it's in the editing bay, and it's I've got multiple videos that I'm working on at any given time, so it's in the queue. But if people are interested in seeing what we were talking about tonight, subscribe to Horsepower Heritage on YouTube, and the Slow Baja episode will be coming up pretty soon, so something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, as well, of course. So what's next for you? What's in the hopper? Like what's your next big event? What are you looking forward to?
I haven't had time to sit down and look at the event calendar for 2026. Obviously there are certain events we all want to hit. I do want to go to the Chattanooga Motoring Festival this year. It's all antique racing cars and things like that. Cool. And they have
up your alley.
Yeah, I haven't been to that one yet. I would like to get to Goodwood next fall for the revival. I have yet to do that, and that's kind of the pilgrimage that we all have to make if we're really into the old stuff.
That is a must do. I mean, you talk about going to Car Week and now you can't not go. That was the only problem that I had when I went to the revival within maybe an hour we were walking around, and in my head I went, well, this is how am I going to not do this every year? It's just so spectacular.
And in terms of upcoming guests, Christopher Runge will be on the show.
Oh, right on.
In the near future.
Interesting.
Yeah. Chris and I, got to know each other a little bit during Car Week this year, and the first time I saw one of his builds was, I think, about 2018 or so in Santa Barbara at a Cars and Coffee, and I couldn't take my eyes off the thing. And he has refined every build so much since then, and now he's just the stuff he's doing is so incredibly elegant. So Chris is going to come on the show. Rob Ida, who is a wonderful hot rodder and fabricator out of New Jersey, will be on the show in 2026, which is not that far away from us now. So
which is wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love talking to racing drivers, so there will be certainly some racing drivers coming on the show in the near future. So I try to mix it up and keep people guessing. And so
who's your dream get?
My dream get. Well, they're all dead, Ryan.
So, settling for someone who's still alive.
I would love to interview Gordon Murray.
Yeah.
Gordon is definitely up there. I'm going to have Jay Leno on the show at some point in the near future. I spent some time here and there with Jay. I've been to the garage. Fantastic guy. And, he's, of course, super busy, but he always seems to make time. And that's something that I haven't contacted him about yet, but I want to do that. Again, you kind of got me on the spot for dream guests, and I'm really kind of serious when I say that they're no longer with us, because that's just
so who, now you have me curious. If that was not a constraint, who would you love to have?
I would love to have interviewed Carroll Shelby.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Would love to have interviewed Johnny Agnelli, who was the chairman of Fiat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sure.
And, he was the guy that made the deal with Enzo to essentially take the Ferrari road cars under the Fiat umbrella.
Right.
And he left Enzo with the racing division. But beyond that, Agnelli is just a fascinating character.
Yeah.
I would, going way back, and none of your listeners will know this name, would love to have interviewed Harry Miller.
Oh,
And
sure.
who is Harry
Yeah.
Miller?
Harry Miller was a guy from, I think, Kenosha, Wisconsin,
That sounds right.
who worked for Ransom Olds of Oldsmobile
Okay.
in the very early days, like 1903, 1904. And then Miller was kind of a natural engineer. He designed some very elegant carburetors in the teens and 20s and made a fortune from his carburetors, licensing them and then, kind of selling them, selling the design. And then he started building these incredible racing engines with, you've heard the name Offenhauser.
Sure. Yeah.
So Offenhauser was one of his guys, and
Okay.
a guy named Leo Goosen, who was his chief engineer. And those three guys, Goosen, Offenhauser, and Miller, had these incredible racing engines. So the Offie engine, which after Miller kind of had passed from the scene, Offenhauser took that engine and went to Indy with it, and it was the dominant engine at Indy until, gosh, I think the mid 80s, because it's a monoblock.
Wow.
It's a monoblock, so the head does not come off the engine, so they can run extremely high compression, forced induction, four-cylinder engine, just a magical piece of machinery. And so, but Miller is a really interesting character. He's kind of like part Frank Lloyd Wright, part Howard Hughes. Really kind of a mysterious character in a lot of ways, and I would love to have sat down with him.
Sure.
But we're talking ancient history right now. I mean, but see, this is what I love, because you can tie all of this together to the present day. If you just kind of follow the family tree and follow and start pulling on threads, you will find stuff that is relevant today, but the roots of it are in the 1910s, 1920s.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Right. And the
That's- it was
decisions that people were making then and the innovations and the direction, they shaped automotive. And like you said, the threads are there. And
Yep.
even today,
Yep. So
the influence.
that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's a
And
great
there's no-
answer, Maurice.
thank you. And there's no end to it. I mean, that's what the beauty of this is. Like I'll never run out of subject matter. So
Yeah, absolutely. You ever thought about writing a book? Has there been a book?
I have, and I will. And I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but that is one of my goals. I'm going to write an automotive book.
I am glad to hear that.
So thank you.
Well, then we would like you to come on as an author once the book is written, and we will talk about it.
Happy to do so.
Yeah. Well, Maurice, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. So glad things are going so well. Look forward to hanging out again before too long. Any Colorado plans?
Just
I know it's something you've talked about.
hey, you know what? You build it, and I'll come.
Okay, all right. We're gonna make that happen in time. Yeah,
All right, my
That's
friend.
another one we have to add to the calendar, right?
that's right.
For me,
Well,
you have done it, but
Yeah, no, you got to get out here too. Maurice Merrick, Horsepower Heritage podcast, YouTube channel. Gentlemen, can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. We're That Car Show. Until next time, Lindsay.
and remember, always be driving, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.